Welcome to the Lodge. From the riverbanks to the end zones, we're diving deep into everything that matters most to the colony. You're listening to State of the Beavers. I'm your host, Brian, and whether you're a diehard alum, a nature enthusiast, or just here for the ecosystem, we've got you covered. Today on the show, we're breaking down the latest headlines, checking the pulse of the community, and asking the big questions that define our state today. Grab your gear, a beer, and settle in. It's time to gnaw through the noise. This is the State of the Beavers, starting right now.
So you thought you had this college football season figured out, right? Well, think again. One absolutely wild weekend just flipped the entire script. In this breakdown, we're going to sort through the chaos and look at the high-stakes road ahead. After a weekend that basically redrew the entire college football map, we're going to break it all down. We're asking three simple questions. First, what in the world just happened? Second, who's actually on top of the mountain now? And maybe most importantly, what is at stake in what is shaping up to be the biggest week of the entire year? All right, let's get right into it. It all started with last week's shockwaves. I mean, the results we saw didn't just cause a few ripples, they completely rewrote the national narrative. The chaos really kicked off in Texas. Arkansas goes on the road and pulls off a jaw-dropping 21-16 upset. And for Texas, this wasn't just a loss. Oh no, this was a knockout blow that sent them tumbling completely out of the top 25. Just like that. And you think it stopped there? Not a chance. Louisville went right into SMU's house and took down the number 2 team in the entire country, 35-21. A massive, season-defining win for Louisville and just a devastating blow for SMU's championship dreams. The hits just kept on coming for the top 10 teams. Virginia Tech managed to hold on and beat number 7 Miami 20-17. I mean, after a weekend like that, the entire national landscape had no choice but to change. And all of those upsets, all that chaos, it led directly to this, a completely reshuffled pecking order in the national rankings. It's a whole new ballgame. Okay, so at the top, no surprise, Georgia is still the undisputed number 1. But check this out. Duke, they've jumped all the way to number 2. Meanwhile, you've got Ohio State and Michigan locked in at 3 and 4, setting up an absolutely monumental collision course. And further down, you're seeing teams like Texas Tech and Arizona State climb into that top tier, which just proves how wide open this whole race has become. And with that kind of volatility, you're always going to have your big winners and your big losers. Arizona State, they're a huge winner, climbing 3 spots into the top 10. But the biggest story? It's the free fall. After getting completely dismantled by Oregon, USC absolutely plummeted a staggering 11 spots. That one loss totally changed their entire season's outlook. Now, all that drama on the field, it didn't just shake up the team rankings. Oh no, it also threw the race for college football's biggest individual prize, the Heisman Trophy, into a fascinating, brand new phase. Right now, the co-favorite is SMU's quarterback Kevin Jennings, but, and this is a big but, his position is looking real shaky. I mean, despite all his talent, leading a team that just lost its number 2 ranking puts his front-runner status in serious jeopardy. The door's wide open. And Jennings' stumble has opened that door for some new challengers. First up, you've got Maki Hughes, Oregon's star running back, who is just surging up the Heisman odds board. And if you want to know why, just look at what he did against USC. He put the entire team on his back. 26 carries, over 140 yards, and 2 huge touchdowns. You know, that's not just a good stat line, that is a Heisman-caliber performance when the lights were the absolute brightest. But Hughes isn't the only one making a move. You absolutely cannot sleep on Clemson's quarterback, Cade Klubnik. He is making a very loud late-season push to crash the Heisman party. His case is all about pure firepower. I mean, a 365-yard passing day is impressive enough, but 6 passing touchdowns? Come on. That's the kind of explosive video game performance that forces voters to sit up and take notice. He's a legitimate dark horse, for sure. Okay, so we've covered the teams, we've covered the players. Now, let's connect it all to the ultimate goal, right? the playoff picture, and the road to a national championship.
So here's how the bracket looks as of right now. In this 12-team format, you get these awesome first-round matchups, like UTSA versus Texas Tech, and Vanderbilt taking on Penn State. Now, the winners of those games have to turn around and face the top 4 seeds. We're talking Michigan, Georgia, Ohio State, and Duke, who all get a much-needed first-round bye. The path to the title is laid out, but believe me, it is an absolute minefield.
But hold on. Before any of that can happen, we have to get through the single most important weekend of the regular season, Rivalry Week. This is where absolutely everything is on the line.
And first up, it's the biggest of them all, the game. Number 3 Ohio State versus number 4 Michigan. The betting line is just 2.5 points. It's a true toss-up. The winner likely locks up a top 4 seed and that crucial bye. The loser, their playoff life will be hanging by a thread.
Heading down south, we've got the Sunshine State Showdown, Florida State at Florida. This is one of those games where you just throw the records out the window. It's about pure, chaotic rivalry. And with Florida being a slim 2-point favorite at home, this one could truly go either way. Out west, we have a massive Pacific Northwest clash. Oregon, still riding high from that USC beatdown, goes on the road to face Washington. For Oregon, favored by 4, this is a huge chance to make one final, loud statement to that playoff committee.
And we can't forget the Lone Star Showdown, Texas A&M versus Texas. It's another classic rivalry that's basically a coin flip, with Texas favored by just 2.5 points. You've got bragging rights and bowl game positioning on the line here. So, as we head into the most chaotic, most meaningful weekend of the year, there's really only one question left to ask. With championships, playoff spots, and an entire year's worth of bragging rights on the line, who is going to own Rivalry Week?
Welcome to the debate. Today we're diving into the Week 14 gridiron confrontation, which pits the number 15 ranked Oregon State Beavers against Washington State. Now, on paper, this looks like, well, a complete mismatch. Oregon State is sitting pretty at 10-1. But the real question is that statistical dominance enough? Enough to get past the pure chaos of a rivalry week, especially with all these clouds hanging over Coach Caleb Ward? I'm going to argue that the numbers, they just don't lie. Oregon State is objectively the superior team here.
And I'm going to argue that numbers can't measure pressure. And I think the friction that we're all seeing in Coach Ward's recent behavior, you combine that with the nothing-to-lose energy of a rivalry game, well, this is the very definition of a trap game.
It's not just that Oregon State is scoring over 35 points a game. The real story is that their defense is only allowing 15.6. Washington State is giving up nearly double that. I mean, when you have a 10-1 record, that validates Coach Ward's Bible offensive scheme. The system works. Period.
See, schemes work until they don't. And there is a very specific criticism that's been floating around about Coach Ward, that he, and I'm quoting here, overthinks, adjusts late, and lets better prepared teams dictate the game. That really resonates with me. You bring up the 10-1 record, which is great, but let's not forget, they swapped quarterbacks from Malik Murphy to Gabari Johnson back in Week 8 when they were 5-1. You don't fix something that isn't broken unless you're still looking for an identity.
I wouldn't call it searching. I would call it optimizing. But let's set that aside and look at the defensive metrics, because that's where you actually control a football game. Washington State gives up over 430 yards per game. Oregon State, they're under 300. And look at the turnover differential. Oregon State is +4, Washington State is -4. That is an 8-point swing in pure discipline. That isn't luck. That is a structural advantage.
Okay, but discipline on the field usually reflects the culture off of it, and that is exactly where I'm seeing cracks. You saw Coach Ward's interaction with the media this week, right? Snapping at a reporter, saying, "Do you have a football question?" and then just walking off. I mean, come on. That is a coach who is absolutely feeling the heat. So when the headset gets a little tight in the fourth quarter, does all that structural discipline hold up against a team that's just playing for pride?
You're focusing on a sound bite. I'm focusing on the quarterback evolution. You called the switch to Gabari Johnson a sign of weakness, but just look at the tape. Week 11 against Minnesota, 309 yards, 4 touchdowns. Week 12 against Kentucky, a 77% completion rate. The offense has arguably peaked at the perfect time.
It's a high-risk peak, though. You benched a winning starter. That changes the dynamic in the locker room. And what about the run game? Anthony Hankerson fell out of the Heisman race because of his injury. So if Washington State decides to just stack the box, bring everyone up to the line because they are not scared of a compromised run game, they can force Johnson to beat them all by himself. If he makes one mistake, that peak just collapses.
Yeah, but that assumes Washington State can even get them to third down, which brings me back to this whole rivalry dynamic. People love to talk about chaos, but execution kills chaos. Oregon State converts on 55% of their third downs. Washington State is down at 43%. If you can sustain drives, you keep the crowd quiet and you keep all that chaos off the field.
But what if Washington State drags them into the mud early on? They're facing a coach who critics, as we've said, claim struggles when the opponent dictates the flow. If that conversion rate drops even a little bit under pressure, that door just flies wide open.
At the end of the day, the defensive metrics, Johnson's efficiency, it all makes this Oregon State's game to lose. The yardage gap is just too wide to be overcome by emotion alone.
And I'll just maintain that the external noise and the internal pressure on Coach Ward are the great equalizers in football. If he overthinks this one, the stats aren't going to be able to save him.
We'll leave it there. We encourage our listeners to check the scout report for themselves and decide if the numbers really tell the whole story.
Or if the game is won somewhere in the margins. Thanks for listening.
One of the toughest things to do in all of college football is win on the road. When you're a ranked team going into a hostile environment, these fans are ready to knock them off course. Welcome to the Blues, home in Washington Martin Stadium, home to the Washington State Cougars. As we'll see, the number 15 team in the country, the Oregon State Beavers, taking on one of the top teams in this conference, the Washington State Cougars. For EA Sports College Football, I'm Reese Davis, David Pollack, and Jesse Palmer with me. Guys, it's time to get it going. Washington State lined up to kick it off and get this game going. He'll start the return inside his 5. He was hoping for something a little more dynamic, but they get him on the ground at the 20. So Oregon State's offense will go to work first. As we take a quick look at the impact players for today's game, what players did you guys look to for motivation to make an impact during your playing days, Jesse?
Well, it was the guys we relied on each and every week. We came into the season expecting these types of guys to be our biggest weapons, and every week those were the guys that...
Turning it on! That one could really put this drive into high gear as they have a first down at the 37. They moved the chains on the ground last time. Let's see if they try to hit him up top. Might as well give it to him again. And he does a really nice job finding open space and making a good gain before the stop is made. The Beavers can play this second down a lot of ways with just a few yards to go. Off the bootleg, wants to throw it. Moving, keeping the eyes downfield. And the defense gets home and makes a play at the 37-yard line. Now a lot of work to do to move the chains, keep this drive alive after that earlier sack. Johnson looking to throw. Unloads to the wideout. Got a man, it's Walker. He found plenty of room and he gets it to the 39-yard line.
And listen, the defense knew coming into this one, they were going to target him early and often. He is a weapon, and there's no mystery where the quarterback's going to be looking on critical down and distances. Let's see how they're able to cover him throughout the rest of this game.
Going with the ground game left. That is a big win for this defense as they were right there as soon as he got the ball.
And when you play defensive end, it's all about getting off the football. You can tell, gets off the football really fast, gets in the backfield, gets the running back before he knows what hit him. What a play by the defensive end.
Oh, they're after him. And the ball comes out. What a disastrous. Got a lot of room to the right. Defense trying to take it back. Touchdown, Washington State. This defense. first one they've used this. The coach wants the officials to have another look at the monitor. Using a timeout here, thinks the call is going to end up going his way.
Man, defenses are always trying to force turnovers, to get the ball back to their offense, make those big plays. You know what the cherry on the sundae is? When you force the turnover, the pill hits the ground, you scoop it up, and you take it all the way back to the house. Huge play for this defense.
And the PAT makes it 7-0. The scoop and score. What a lift it can give to the defense. Not content to get the ball. They wanted to do something with it, and they did. He'll bring it back from inside his 5. Not a lot of space to be found. Good hustle by the coverage team, and they stop him at the 21. Oregon State has it back, and here comes the Beaver offense. Finding themselves down 7-0, they'd love to get a drive going here. Connection to the right. The junior making a clutch play and turning in a big catch.
This tight end is such a weapon because he can line up all over the field. That time he starts in the slot, he's running the corner route against zone coverage, and he's just got athleticism and wiggle and the ability to separate and make big plays. It's so nice to have a target like that.
Guys, let's talk for just a minute about Oregon State. Breaking into the top 15 is one step closer to the college football playoff. You've made it this far, the dream is within reach. Question becomes, will they take the next step, Jesse?
You got to keep winning. Now when we're talking about this team, you're hearing college football playoff in the same sentence because of where they're ranked in the top 15. So, David, as they move forward, they've got to continue to elevate and ascend with their talent and play on the field.
Yeah, and it's exciting, right? To be mentioned, it's exciting. To hear yourself talked about on shows and to be a team that's getting respect is great. Now, let's keep pushing that pedal to the floor to be the best team we can be.
They're going to go right back to him on first down. And they'll bring him to the ground after a short gain.
And that's a really nice play. It's impressive. Once first down and the defense thinks you might be running the football, you still can line up. You can get some movement at the point of attack and find a little crease for your running back.
Looking down the middle. Got him downfield.
They say tight ends are a quarterback's best friend in the pass game because think about it. The tight end's the guy lined up closest to the quarterback, which means generally those are the easiest throws a quarterback.
Oh, he's got some space. Really good job by everybody there. Well blocked, good run, and a first down.
First down, physicality wins football games. Being able to run the football and create balance. And right here, just choose up another first down, gives you another chance to maybe continue to run the football.
And I feel like this guy, too, is just an explosive play waiting to happen. His vision, his quickness, and he's got a burst. If you give this guy just a crease, he's going to hit it. And right now, he's doing some damage on this defense.
Johnson wants to throw it. Pocket breaking down. He caught it. And he was straining for the goal line, but the defense stopped him short. Really need to pick up this conversion and avoid having to settle for the field goal. Looking to move the chains. They throw it complete to the left. They will score! Touchdown, Beavers! There have been miniseries, novels, movies, long-form plays that have been over in shorter period of time than that drive. And they stop him at the 21. The Cougars offense will get the ball for the first time. But Jesse, it's always fun to see a guy who's been challenged, see if he can answer the bell and get things done.
Well, we talked to him this week, and he knows that people are out there questioning him. I think that leaves a big chip on his shoulder, David. He wants to prove to the entire college football world he's got what it takes to win this football game. It's a big test for him.
And here's the thing, proving it is one thing, Jesse, but it's not about you. And this is a team game. Obviously, the quarterback position is so dependent on others' success, but play within yourself, make those plays, don't make the big mistakes.
They stop him just a link or two short of the first, and man, what they can do on second down here.
Really good surge that time by the offensive line. You saw all those bodies by the defense being pushed backwards. That opened up the crease for the ball carrier. He's able to get a really nice gain there, setting up second and inches.
They make the stop, and he'll have enough yardage for a first down.
And these short yardage situations, it all comes down to the up front. Like, who can win the battle up front? Can you get a hat on the hat? And they do. This offensive line, they get on the D-line, they create just enough space, understand short yard situation, fall forward, and get a first down.
On the run, and he'll slide. So second down here as we're back at it after the break. Running into the open space. And he scoots his way to the first down and then slides to avoid the hit.
A lot of coaches will tell you they've got a play chart that they're going to get certain guys the ball in certain situations. Nice job getting a guy with speed around the edge on a reverse. He's got some space out wide. Nice job exploding, getting to the open field, and most importantly, getting the first down.
Halfway there on first down, it's 2nd and 5. Oh, he'll keep it on the draw. And he is just engulfed at the line by this giant defensive tackle. It's a makeable field goal from the 29-yard line. Let's see how aggressive they are on 3rd and long. Catch in the middle, it's Ellison. Got some room in it at the goal line. And he cruises his way to the house. Touchdown, Wazoo! When that receiver got free, it was all over.
And it's so nice to have a receiver like this as a quarterback because you pad my stats. I like that.
Out of the gun to give to the back. Makes it past the marker. Breaks into the open. Big pickup on the ground here to keep this drive moving and give them a first down. You count up those explosive plays in a game and you put a little extra star by the big runs.
Yeah, and this running back is a weapon, boy. He is so good in space. He's got shiftiness. He can make guys miss. And if this guy gets into the second level, watch out. He can hit a home run.
All kinds of room to throw that one in there. And he ran away from the crowd, and he'll take it in. Touchdown, Oregon State.
And I like this offense. They didn't panic. A lot of times you see offenses panic and want to get back in it when they're down really quickly, and they force the issue. They stayed patient. They stayed within themselves, and we're an extra point away from being a tied football game.
Looking for the time with the extra point. And he did get that extra point through to the field again. These two defenses have had their heads spinning here in the first half, and now we might even see a little more scoring with this drive.
It's going back and forth. This is like two heavyweights just trading.
Oh, a lot of space. He's inside the 40. At the 20. Touchdown, Washington State. He got loose, and it was lights out after that.
And that's his second receiving touchdown of the game. My man is just finding pay dirt. Tell you what, these are the kind of guys that you continue to feature throughout a game when he can do this kind of damage after he catches the football.
They'll try to add another to their lead. And with the extra point, the score is now 21-14. If only it were always this easy for the offensive coordinators. One play, big chunk yardage, put points on the board just like that. And he takes this from inside the 5. Just never had a chance to shake loose, and he'll be brought down at the 24. Oregon State takes over, ready to send the offense onto the field. They'll try to answer that last score with one of their own. A chance here to tie the game with a touchdown drive. Johnson looking to throw. Shoots it to the left. Oh, it's picked off. And he'll be marked down, but what a play to come up with that interception.
And he makes a play in the back end. Nice job reading the pass, and that's his second of the season. This guy, unbelievable job seeing the quarterback, breaking on the quarterback, and going and getting that big play.
The quick out. Got the completion, but nowhere to go as that defense reacted quickly. Backed up now, here's 2nd and long. Wants to go up top. Under heat, and he gets rid of it. The little soft flip pass falls incomplete.
Man, it's easy to play defense when you can do this. When you can get to the quarterback quick and make him make a decision quick, it makes it easier for the secondary, for the linebackers, for everybody on the field.
Now facing a 3rd and long. From the gun, wants to pass. Hauls it in. That'll be enough for the first down as they mark it down at the 31-yard line.
And I love the awareness by the wide receiver on that play because I'm not sure that route was supposed to be that deep. You got to wonder if the receiver decided maybe to adjust the route a little bit to make sure that he got the first down.
The Cougars will snap it on 1st and 10. Give to the single back. And there was nowhere to go, just stopped in his tracks in the backfield. The Cougars trying to find their way forward after the big loss on the last play. 2nd down, they'll go to the air. Finds the tight end. Didn't pick up a lot there, moved it forward just a few. 3rd and long from the 30-yard line, in this defense hoping to knock them out of field goal range. They'll move the wide receiver. On 3rd down, he drops to throw. Nowhere to go with the ball, and down he goes at the 39.
This is a good sign for this defense. The rate they were going, not touching the quarterback, him already having 2 touchdown passes in the first half, this was not going to be a fun football game to watch. Now they're turning the tide a little bit, getting a little bit of pressure, getting a sack.
Gets the first one of the day out of there. He ought to be fresh. They only used him twice in that victory last week. Oregon State has it back, and here comes the Beaver offense. Well, the good news about this drive, Jesse, it can't go worse than last time through a pick on the first play.
No, it certainly can't. I think one good way, David, to help your quarterback turn the page is just find him an easy completion here and let him get back into a rhythm.
Yeah, or find him an easy handoff. Just hand the football off, maybe get the ground game going, maybe jumpstart this offense a little bit.
He's going to lose a yard on that one.
And the quickest way to blow up the run game is those interior big boys, those defensive tackles getting in the backfield really quickly and making that ball hurt.
Man, that D tackle was in the backfield in a hurry. The big man is nimble.
Nimble, fast, quick, athletic. That's just all words you describe defensive linemen with.
Bells and whistles have got to be going off in this quarterback's head now. It's 3rd and long, so you know you're expecting pressure. You got to know where your hot routes are. You got to be able to read the coverage and make sure you get this football out of your hands quickly to not take a sack or worse, turn the football over.
Can't make the grab, in this offense, which has been brilliant this season on 3rd down, doesn't convert this time. And the Beavers line up to punt it away. The punter going to get his first work of the afternoon. He makes a fair catch, couple of steps inside his own 25 at the 23-yard line. Washington State has it back, and they'll send the offense onto the field. They've got a little time here to put together a productive drive late in the half. They missed an opportunity to extend this lead the last time they had it, Jesse.
Yeah, they got to be able to regain that momentum, right? Go back to what was working earlier on in this one. And, David, to me, that starts with being the more physical team.
No, I definitely agree. Being the more physical team, but understanding the situation of the game. You're still winning. You got the football back. Now put a nice drive together and execute.
Can't get him to the ground. And that defense just ran through that offensive front. He broke a couple of tackles, but nowhere to run.
Great job by the defense. Everybody firing off the ball, hitting their guys, holding their gaps, running to the football, nowhere to go.
Looking deep down the right side. Makes the grab on the big throw. And they don't drag him down until he gets all the way to the 46-yard line. That big explosive play carries them into plus territory. They'll snap it 1st and 10 from just across the 50. From the gun, running back on the move. And he's stuffed by that big defensive tackle up front.
Awesome job up front by this defensive line, being so good at the point of attack and eating blocks, eating some double teams that allows these linebackers to run free, unencumbered, and get to the football.
Defense is about seeing it and pulling the trigger, and you could tell they pull the trigger so fast, get to the back, get him on the ground quickly.
They've got to come up with a big play on this 3rd and long. He's looking downfield to throw. And the defense picks up a sack, getting the quarterback down at the 44.
when you got 3rd and this long, everybody knows what's coming. It's going to be a pass. Defensive linemen get to tee off. They know exactly what's coming. Go get the quarterback. It is your dream. That is what you live for. It's what you practice in the offseason for. I want sacks just like that.
Washington State sends the punt team onto the field. This will be the 2nd time they've had to kick it away. He looks it in and makes the fair catch, and they'll have it at the 32. First snap of this drive comes from the 32. Johnson wants to throw it. Showing the arm strength down the left side. Oh, he had it. The deep ball was there, and it just trickled through his fingers. Try to make up for some of that lost ground on 2nd down. They'll throw again after the incompletion. Rolling, throwing, looking right. What a catch and what a throw along the sideline. Just sings it in there. A little Baryshnikov for the toe tap.
And that is such an accurate throw. It's one thing to do it from the pocket when you have your feet set underneath you, but when you can get outside, off schedule, on the move, and throw a dart like that, that is just big time, and the offense gets a huge explosive play.
And not to be the old guys in the booth, but we are the old guys in the booth. Man, 50-yard field goals used to be really, really hard. Kickers nowadays, man, they are making it look so much easier, and he does right there.
Oh, look at Mr. Hands taking the squibber inside the 30. They get him corralled, but not before he gets that return out to the 35. Under a minute to play here in the first half, and the offense will take a knee, and that is how we'll wrap up the first half. That's the end of the 2nd quarter. That means it's time to join Kevin in our halftime update.
Thanks, fellas. Looks like you've had a very enjoyable day there today in Pullman. And it's clear, the aerial attacks of both teams have been relentless. They've been burning each of these secondaries like toast. Just an assault on the defensive game plans, if there even were defensive game plans. Gotta think, fellas, based on the first 2 quarters, we're gonna see every route in the route tree again in this 2nd half. And with that, let's send it back to the fellas on the Palouse at Morton Stadium.
Listen, I don't want my guy getting touched. He's being productive, but give him some more time here in the 2nd half.
I think you can do that, too, offensively, by maybe leaving your tight end in to help block, maybe chipping with running backs to help these tackles out on the edge, because you're right. That pocket has been shaky, and if it continues to be that way in the 2nd half, this could be a much different-looking football game.
Got 3 on first down. It's 2nd and 7. The give to the back. That keeps the running game churning. Pickup of 5 to the 23.
Definitely been tough sledding for this guy, especially in the first half. They gave him the ball a bunch, but they just don't have a ton of yards on the ground to show for it at this point.
That's a foul on the play. Defense swarming on that loose ball. It'll be a turnover.
You know, oftentimes when you're playing in conditions like this and it's raining, you'll see a lot of the skill players offensively take off the gloves because they want to be able to feel the football. They think it gives them better control of it. And I don't know if that played into the football going on the ground there, but you know that ball security is going to be one of the biggest factors in this game moving forward.
Oregon State takes over, ready to send the offense onto the field. The give out of the gun. There he goes. They get him on the ground, but not before he rumbles all the way to the 5. The Beavers are threatening on 1st and goal. Quarterback on the keeper. A solid pickup there before the defense is able to make the stop.
You know, as a quarterback, when you're doing this zone read play, you got to read that defensive end. If he crashes down hard inside to take the running back away, right away you know now you're keeping the football. Nice job.
And he was fortunate not to lose yardage on that play, able to wedge it back to the line of scrimmage.
This defense has got some monsters up front. Individual athleticism. You see guys winning their one-on-ones.
Touchdown, Beavers! And that one will put them up here in the second half.
And I tell you what, Reese, I'm not picking a team unless I got a guy that can do something like this at the quarterback spot. I need an athlete. I need a little bit of mobility. It just dictates too much to the defense. QB runs in for 6.
And the extra point puts them up by a field goal. State has it back, and they'll send the offense onto the field. That last fumble proved to be costly as they cashed it in for a touchdown.
Yeah, and so this defense now is juiced. They're excited and ready to go. So this offense, David, they've got to get something going.
Yeah, those turnovers can be contagious, man. It gets you excited, and then when your offense takes it down the field and does something with it, this offense better be ready to play against a motivated defense.
They're trying to slow that rush down with the draw. He's knocked down behind the line of scrimmage again, and this just hasn't been his day. Nowhere to run. It'll be 3rd and long. From the gun, wants to pass. He's going to throw deep right side. And that'll be incomplete. They certainly weren't afraid to take a shot there, and now it's 4th down. Washington State will have to boot it away. He's got it. He's got great speed. Touchdown, Oregon State, stealing a score on special teams.
And that is one of the biggest plays of that young man's football life. The true freshman taking the punt to the house. If I'm the head coach and I watch that, I'm now trying to find ways to get this guy on the field offensively because he's got some special ability.
And with the extra point, see that zone.
Nope, it's a great job by the offense. Hey, see where the holes in the zone are? Sit down. You only need a little bit of yards on this 3rd down. Get the conversion, move the sticks.
Very little running room, if any, and he just hasn't had anywhere to go in this one. And the Cougars have put themselves in dire straits after that last play. It's 2nd and a mile. Right on the money. And the defense had that one well covered, just a short gain there. Nice job by this guy finding the slot guy on a track.
Yeah, the receiver just working his way across the field, giving his quarterback a nice, easy target. That's an easy completion.
Oh, he makes the catch. He stopped right at the 31-yard line. That's not enough for a 1st down, and it'll be 4th. Washington State sends out the punt unit. They'll look to pin him deep. They'll put a stop to that return as he gets it up to the 41-yard line. Oregon State has it back, and here comes the Beaver offense. Last drive went for 6. We'll see if they can do it again. Leaves it with the running back. And maybe he'll get back to the line of scrimmage, but no more than that.
Great play by the defense there, getting the tackle for loss. But on offense, your mindset has to be, we need to be the more physical team here in the second half. We've got the lead, 3rd quarter. We want to run the ball. We've got to have more success getting our...
Turning it on! Lots of green grass as he gets it to the 31.
He can throw it. He can buy time. He can run it. What can't he do? This guy's so talented. When he does stuff like this, there's no way to stop it. There's no way to coach a defense up against this. He's just really fast, and I can't catch him.
Got the 1st down and more. All down, but he has enough to move the chains.
This shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. If you've got the lead in the 3rd quarter and you want to keep it, you got to bleed the clock. Best way to do that, run the football. And you're now seeing this offense call these run plays back to back. They are trying to be physical, and they're trying to stay on the field.
They'll get it down to the 10-yard line on that completion. Man down on the play as the officials take a break to let him be checked out. Going to work on 2nd down in the red zone, and still some ground to cover to pick up that 1st down. They'll try the run. And the defense holds firm. No pickup at all on that play.
Maybe that stop shows this defense is tightening up, especially in the run game. The offense, frankly, they've been able to do whatever they want to do. They're just handing the ball off. This guy's having success left and right. No sir, no mas, get it together.
He steps out of bounds, and that'll be the end of quarter number 3. We've reached the end of the quarter, and Oregon State has the lead. Let's take a quick look at the national rankings to see how this playoff race is. They'll run it on 1st and goal. And he'll get this one back to the line of scrimmage, but no farther than that.
It's going to be tough sledding for the offense here. They're trying to ice this game by running the football and bleeding the clock. They've got a pretty good lead here late in the game, but the defense knows the run's coming, right? So they're going to be low.
Touchdown, Beaver! And they add 6 more to the board with that trip to the house.
Man, you've seen the evolution of the option, and you've seen the evolution with scrambling quarterbacks that can run and be so dynamic and just so much to defend. The quarterback says, forget that. You defend everything, I'll take it myself. In for 6.
They had to punt it.
Yeah, they did. And, David, they're just going to have to do a better job this time around erasing the mental mistakes.
And just trying to solve the defensive riddle, understanding what they're trying to do to you and attack them.
Halfway there on 1st down, it's 2nd and 5. Wide receiver comes in motion. Off the play fake. And here comes the heat, and they get home, and they get him at the 21.
And this defense right now is pinning their ears back with a huge lead in the 4th quarter, and you're seeing that coming off the edge. They're not even respecting run because they don't have to. They know that this opponent is going to throw the football. They're taking wider splits. They're getting up the field. They're using...
He lobs one high down the left side. It's picked off, and that's number 10. He goes down after the short return, but what a play to get the football back.
And as a defensive lineman late in the game, man, when you know it's past, you're pinning your ears back, trying to get to the quarterback, and DBs are trying to do this. Pad them stats, get the INT. Nice job by this D.
Out of the gun, the running back has it. Oh, he's got some space. He puts him in business across the 50 into the 46-yard line. It'll be 1st down.
And I think as a running back, if you're this guy, you're licking your chops right now. This is what you want, right? You've got a big lead in the 4th quarter, and you're smiling because you know you are going to get the rock. They're going to force feed you the football to try and ice this game, and he's paying him off right now. That's a really nice run.
And this defense is a half a beat behind. They just can't quite keep up. They've got it down to the 21.
This guy's been special today. Coming into this one, they thought they had an opportunity really to get him going, running the football, and he has delivered. You've seen the speed, the vision, his ability to break tackles. Well over 100 rushing yards in this game, and that's why they have a nice lead here late.
Trying to escape and get it himself. And into the end zone. They'll finally get him stopped at the 1-yard line. What a run there.
It's really hard on a defense to drop back and know it's pass. And then a quarterback like that, he just has the ability to pull it down and just, bam, shoot through a hole, shoot up yards so fast, outrun fast guys. It's just really hard to stop in today's football.
Well, they want to come out and try to get the run game established, but up front defensively, they made a play. They gave up nothing on that one.
Got to find some breathing room if you're going to establish yourself on the ground, and there wasn't any that time.
Yeah, Reese, I wonder now if this offense is maybe going to try to get to the perimeter of the field and see if they can use their speed to hurt this defense.
Surging forward on the sneak. Touchdown, Oregon State! And the punishment has been extended.
This is like having an extra running back in your backfield. This quarterback is magic. When he decides to keep the football, he can make people look absolutely silly. He shows you on that play. The defense is not going to be blitzing, so these screens probably aren't going to work.
Trying to move the sticks on 3rd down through the air. And they can't hook up on the big play, and that brings up a 4th down. Washington State sends the punt team onto the field. They may have to pay him overtime. He's punting for the 5th time today. Another punt on the way. Got to make sure those hammies and glutes all activated. Don't want any muscle pulls from overuse. This guy is a daring punt return man. He's not going to settle for the fair catch. A solid return gets a little bit of ground for the offense. They'll keep it on the ground to keep this clock moving. He is going nowhere. Stop at the line of scrimmage.
Well, the defense finally able to make a play, getting a tackle for loss. They haven't had many of those today because this running back really has answered the bell. They knew coming in they were going to have to give him the football, force feed it to him, and let him go to work. He's done.
Catch and stride inside the 15. Defense makes a stop, but the chains move, and it's 1st and goal from the 8.
Well, I tell you, man, this guy's been putting on a show all game long. We've seen his decision-making. We've seen his athleticism. Because of him, they've got this huge lead in the 4th quarter. So why stop throwing it? Just keep it going when the going's good.
He pushes it forward all the way to the 2-yard line.
This is one of the things that's hard about stopping the option. That wasn't a big gain, but you look up, and they're in 2nd and short, 2nd and medium. They put you behind the sticks consistently as a defense. This defense has to be aggressive, make sure they get to this quarterback, and make him make quick decisions.
The give. And they're going to score again. Yet another touchdown as they just add to their total.
Points, points, and more points. This offense has had their way. They just keep their foot on the gas, keep putting up points, keep putting up touchdowns. And you know what? This is one of those stats days. You look back and you're like, that guy had 12 touchdowns in the year. Well, 4 or 5 of them might have been.
The lead in the 4th quarter, and obviously you're in your own end here, but you want to bleed the clock. You want to stay on the field and keep getting first down, so you have to be able to run it.
Well, this one had all the suspense of a bug hurtling his way toward a windshield, and they did splatter them. An absolutely dominating performance.
You got to give the coaching staff a ton of credit. They obviously had their guys ready to play and motivated right from the opening kick. All 3 phases we saw, just spectacular football. No mental mistakes, David. You really can't play better than that.
Nah, it's really fun to do this. Come out and just dominate opponents. Start from finish.
Welcome to the debate. If you look purely at the scoreboard from Week 14, the narrative seems incredibly straightforward. Almost inevitable, really. Oregon State 52, Washington State 21. A 31-point margin. I mean, it just screams dominance. It screams precision. For a lot of people, this result is the final piece of the puzzle in Coach Caleb Ward's whole recalibration of the program. A sign that the architect's vision has finally, moved from theory to reality. But we know that in college football, the final score can be a liar, or at the very least, a very effective spin doctor that hides the messiness of it all. So the central question we're wrestling with today is this. Does this blowout victory confirm that Oregon State is truly championship ready, a fully evolved predator? Or, does the game tape reveal a team that really just relied on a second-half implosion by a deeply flawed opponent rather than, well, sustainable dominance?
That is the essential question, isn't it? Because I think that School Board is doing a tremendous amount of heavy lifting for Oregon State's reputation right now. If you only read the box score, you see a juggernaut, a machine. But if you actually sat and watched the first 30 minutes of football, you saw a team that looked dangerously close to a total structural failure. For me, this game is the litmus test for their season trajectory, but I am certainly not buying the coronation narrative that the writers are all pushing this morning. We have to talk about the radical offensive shift since Week 8 and whether scoring 52 points is just masking vulnerabilities that, say, a Big Ten caliber team would have ruthlessly exploited.
I understand the skepticism. I do, especially given the volatility we've seen earlier in the season. It's natural to wait for the other shoe to drop. But I want to posit that this 52-21 victory is actually the empirical proof of concept. When Caleb Ward was hired, the mandate wasn't just to win games. It was to modernize the offense and, crucially, to develop players faster than rivals could recruit them. This game was the physical manifestation of that philosophy. We're not just talking about a win here. We are talking about 436 total yards of offense compared to Washington State's 244. We are talking about a defensive stranglehold that held a Pac-12 opponent to a shocking 23 rushing yards on 23 carries. That is a 1.0 yard average? In modern football, holding a team to 1 yard per carry is just, it's suffocation.
Those numbers are accurate. Yeah, I won't dispute the arithmetic, but we have to contextualize them against the quality of the competition. Context is the only thing that matters here.
The context, as I see it, is that they outscored Washington State 35-0 in the second half. That proves the profile on Ward we've analyzed before, this idea that his teams win via halftime adjustments that flip the schematic leverage of the game. You don't accidentally score 35 unanswered points to close a game. That is coaching. That is the recalibration finally taking hold and the staff identifying exactly where the opponent is weak.
See, I think that's a very generous reading of adjustments. You're highlighting the 35-0 run in the second half, which is fair. It happened. But you're glossing over the terrifying reality of the first half. At halftime, Oregon State was losing 21-17. And let's talk about how the game actually started. On the sixth play, Gabari Johnson, the quarterback who was supposed to be the savior, the centerpiece of this modern offense, he fumbled the ball on what looked like an incomplete pass, and it was returned for a touchdown. You spot a team 7 points instantly. That is not dominance. That is volatility. And against a team like Oregon or Ohio State, you don't recover from that. The game is over in the first quarter.
But they did recover. And they didn't just inch back, they exploded. That speaks to mental fortitude.
They recovered against Washington State. Let's be very clear about the opponent here. WSU entered this game with a -4 turnover differential. They were statistically fragile. They had absolutely no run game. Again, 1.0 yards per carry implies their offensive line was getting bullied on every single snap. When you play a team that literally cannot run the football, your defensive stats are inherently going to look inflated because the opponent becomes one-dimensional. My argument is that Oregon State didn't necessarily out-scheme a juggernaut. They just capitalized on a team that had a glass jaw. Washington State's quarterback, Zevi Eckhouse, took 3 sacks and was running for his life because they had no balance.
I'm not convinced by that because it penalizes Oregon State for doing exactly what elite teams do, identify and destroy the opponent's weakness. But let's dig into that tale of two halves, because I think that's where the real debate about the architect lies. You see a first-half struggle. I see a second-half adjustment that defines the program's maturity.
Then let's dissect that halftime pivot, because that first half wasn't just a struggle, it was a defensive liability.
I disagree that it was a liability. It was a stress test. Let's look at the second-half highlights from the game summary to understand the shift. Washington State gets the ball. 3 plays in, Skylar Thomas, one of the defensive leaders, lays a massive hit on the quarterback, forces a fumble, and Oregon State recovers. That is immediate impact coming out of the locker room. That isn't luck. That's a team coming out with a corrective game plan and playing with physical violence. And then moments later, you have the special teams unit stepping up. Malachi Durant with a 56-yard punt return touchdown. You cannot tell me that isn't the sign of a complete team.
It's a sign of a team with superior athletes, sure. But have you considered why those heroics were necessary? You have to look at the defensive lapses in the first 2 quarters. Washington State led 21-14 at one point. How? Because Zevi Eckhouse connected on an 84-yard touchdown pass to Devin Ellison, and earlier in the quarter, a 29-yard touchdown pass. The secondary was getting scorched for chunk plays. In defensive analytics, we call those explosive plays, plays over 20 yards. Giving up an 84-yarder is inexcusable for a unit that claims to be suffocating. That means a safety took a bad angle or a corner got beat off the line.
Explosive plays are a part of college football. I mean, even the best defenses, even Georgia or Alabama, they give up chunk plays occasionally because offenses are so spread out now.
2 of them in one half against a team that can't run? That suggests a structural failure in the secondary coverage shells. If Washington State had any semblance of a ground game to burn the clock, to play what we call keep away and shorten the game, Oregon State enters the fourth quarter in a dogfight.
Oregon State was bailed out by the fact that Washington State is entirely one-dimensional. And also, look at the field position. Washington State averaged, 32.7 yards per punt? That is abysmal. They were essentially handing Oregon State the ball at midfield all night. Malachi Demant's return was spectacular, yes, but WSU's special teams and run game were just non-existent.
That's a fair critique of WSU special teams, but I would frame the defensive performance differently. The hallmark of a Caleb Ward defense is adaptation. After giving up those big plays, they shut the door. 0 points allowed in the second half. That means the defensive coordinator identified the coverage bus, corrected them, and the players executed. Zevi Eckhouse ended up with a QB rating of 168.9, sure, but he threw an interception and took those sacks when it mattered. And let's loop back to the rush defense. Salahuddin Allah and the offense were able to stay on the field because the defense forced 3-and-outs. You mentioned the 1.0 yards per carry allowed. That forces an opponent to play left-handed, making them uncomfortable. Oregon State made them uncomfortable.
I think WSU made themselves uncomfortable, but we can agree to disagree on the causality there. My concern is looking forward. Against a Big Ten caliber opponent, you don't get 30 minutes to figure it out. If you spot a top-tier team 21 points in the first half because of a fumble 6 and blown coverages, you don't win 52-21. You lose 45-24. You're praising their recovery skills. I'm worried about the self-inflicted wound in the first place.
Which brings us to the catalyst of this new Oregon State, and perhaps the source of that volatility you're worried about, the quarterback position. We have to talk about Gabari Johnson.
We do, because this is where the whole recalibration narrative gets tricky for me.
I don't see how you can have concerns looking at this stat sheet. Remember back in Week 8 against Iowa State, Ward made the controversial switch from Malik Murphy, a prototypical tall pocket passer, to Gabari Johnson. That was the pivot point of the season. In this game, Johnson accounted for 5 total touchdowns, 3 rushing, 2 passing. He was 10 for 14 through the air. That's a 71% completion percentage with a passer rating of 226.0. This is the efficiency combined with the mobility that the architect promised. It's what makes the offense hum.
I see the production, but I also see the recklessness. Let's go back to that opening drive. 6 play, fumble, touchdown for the other team. Ward talks endlessly about running a clean program. A clean program does not hand the opponent 7 points before the fans have even settled into their seats. That is a fundamental lack of ball security. And for a quarterback whose primary asset is his mobility, putting the ball on the ground is a mortal sin.
It was one play. He recovered and dominated the rest of the game. You can't define a player by his worst snap.
It's a pattern of high-risk play, though. He also took 2 sacks. But more importantly, look at the volume. He only threw the ball 14 times. In modern college football, that is an incredibly low number. This is my issue with the modern offense label you're using. Is it a modern passing attack, or is it a retro run-heavy scheme masking a quarterback who they don't trust to drop back 30 times a game? They ran the ball 34 times and threw it 14. That works against Washington State's front, which gave up 233 rushing yards. But is this sustainable? Can you win a shootout throwing only 14 times?
It's sustainable because it's what we call complementary football. Look at the rushing distribution. Salahuddin Allah had 20 carries for 132 yards. Why? Because the defense has to respect Gabari Johnson's legs. He had 63 yards and 3 scores on the ground. When you have a quarterback who averages 6.3 yards per carry, it creates a numbers advantage in the box. It freezes the linebackers because they have to pause to see if the QB kept the ball or handed it off. That split-second hesitation opens up the lanes for Allah. That's why they had 233 yards rushing. Malik Murphy wasn't giving you that. In Week 7 against Duke, Murphy had, -8 rushing yards? The offense was stagnant. Johnson makes them dynamic. It's the definition of the RPO, run-pass option game. The threat of the run sets up the pass efficiency.
Dynamic, yes. Explosive,
Yes, but the RPO game relies on the quarterback making the right read every time and securing the football while being hit. Johnson had a fumble in this game. He's had fumbles in previous games since taking over. If you play a team with a disciplined defensive front, a team that stays in their gaps and contains the edge, you force Johnson to be a pure passer. You force him to sit in the pocket and read coverage. And my question remains, if forced to drop back and read a complex coverage without the threat of the run, is 10 completions enough to win a championship? The explosiveness relies on big plays like that 54-yard pass to Darius Clements. If those big plays don't hit, are they consistent enough to drive the field 10 plays at a time without turning it over?
I think the efficiency stats say yes. 10 completions on 14 attempts is not just reliance on big plays. It's taking exactly what the defense gives you. If they stack the box to stop the run, he throws over the top. Speaking of Darius Clemens, 3 receptions for 93 yards. The receivers are getting open because the run game is so terrifying that the safeties are creeping up. This is the Bible offense Ward talks about. Multiple looks, stressing the defense horizontally with speed and vertically with deep shots. It forces the defense to defend every blade of grass.
And hear me out, it was Washington State's defense being ranked poorly in almost every metric coming into this game. You're attributing the success to the genius of the Bible offense. I'm attributing it to a defense that couldn't stop a nosebleed. We have to acknowledge that the level of resistance was minimal.
Let's move to the man behind the curtain, the architect himself, Caleb Ward. There was a fascinating interaction in the pre-game press conference that I think defines this team's current identity and mentality.
Oh, the nothing has to show up comment? I had a feeling you loved that one.
I did. The reporter asked, "What's the one thing on the field this week that has to show up immediately?" And Ward replies, deadpan, "We're playing Washington State. Nothing has to show up."
See, to me, that borders on arrogance. It feels dismissive. It's writing a check that your players have to cash.
I disagree completely. It is supreme confidence in preparation. It's not dismissing the opponent. It's saying, we are prepared. If we execute our standard, the result is inevitable. It removes the anxiety from the players. And if you want proof of that discipline, look at the penalty stats. Oregon State had 1 penalty for 0 yards. 1 penalty in an entire game. Compare that to early in the season, or even compare it to Washington State. That shows a disciplined team that buys into the messaging. They played clean football.
And we'll give you the discipline stat. 1 penalty is impressive, and 0 yards on penalties is practically unheard of. Usually you get at least a false start or a holding call. But I want to challenge the narrative surrounding that press conference. There was another quote circulating where a rival coach said clean doesn't win championships, he overthinks, adjusts late. You argued earlier that the second half proves he adjusts well. I would argue the first half proves he prepares poorly. Why do they consistently need to recalibrate at halftime? Why was the team down 21-17 against a 4-win Washington State team? If the preparation was so supreme, why weren't they up 21-0?
Because football is a game of rhythm. You have to feel out the opponent. No game plan survives first contact perfectly. The ability to fix it is what separates good coaches from great ones.
Or is it because the initial game plan was flawed? The rival coach's critique about letting better prepared teams dictate the game feels relevant when you look at that first quarter. WSU came out and punched them in the mouth. A better team keeps punching. WSU ran out of gas because they lacked depth.
I think you're misinterpreting the flow of the game. Ward's profile states his teams develop players faster. Look at who made the plays. Skylar Thomas, Malachi Durant, Gabari Johnson, guys who are stepping up in big moments. The recalibration isn't just halftime adjustments, it's the season-long arc. They went from scoring 6 points against Fresno State in Week 2 to putting up 52 in Week 14. That is development. That is the definition of coaching. You can't deny the trajectory is pointing straight up.
It also scored 30 against Army and 42 against Oregon early in the season, so the offense has shown flashes before. I'm just not sure the 52 points here is a straight line of improvement or a spike caused by a bad opponent. And regarding Ward's comment, clean doesn't win championships, the reporter rated that as a criticism. While the scoreboard looks nice today, the reliance on rushing, 34 rushes versus 14 passes, and defensive turnovers suggests a style that might struggle against elite balanced teams. If you shut down the run, does the architect have a plan B? We haven't seen Gabari Johnson have to win a game purely with his arm when trailing in the fourth quarter.
He didn't have to win it in the fourth quarter because they had already scored 21 points in that quarter to put it away. They scored 38 unanswered points. You're asking for a plan B when plan A resulted in a 31-point victory? That feels like moving the goalposts because you refuse to give them credit.
I'm asking for plan B because playoffs and championships aren't played against Washington State. You need to have a counterpunch when your primary weapon, the run game, is taken away. I haven't seen that yet. What happens when the RPO read is clouded by a complex zone defense? We don't know.
And I am saying that this performance shows they have the tools to compete with anyone. They generated 436 yards of offense. They forced turnovers. They didn't panic when down at halftime. That is the psychological makeup of a winner. They have a defense that can score, special teams that can score, and an offense that is efficient. That is a dangerous combination.
It's the makeup of a team that bullied a lightweight. But let's look at the conclusion here. We have to wrap this up.
We do.
Result is impressive on paper. You can't take away the W, but the first half volatility, the fact that they were trailing late in the second quarter, and the quarterback's ball security issues remain massive red flags for me. The blowout was aided significantly by Washington State's complete inability to run the ball. That 1.0 yards per carry stat is the only stat that really matters to me because it dictated the entire flow of the game. I am not ready to say the recalibration is championship ready. I think they're a good team that feasted on a favorable matchup.
And I simply see it differently. I believe the 35-0 second half shutout is the defining metric of this game. It shows physical dominance and coaching superiority. The switch to Gabari Johnson has unlocked a dimension of the offense, the run-pass option threat that turned a stagnant unit into one producing over 430 yards. They create turnovers when it matters, they play disciplined football with 0 penalty yards, and they finish strong. This wasn't just a win, it was a statement that the architect's vision has taken root.
It's a statement, sure. I'm just not sure if the statement is, we have arrived, or we got lucky WSU can't run.
I think the 21-point explosion in the fourth quarter suggests they have finally become who they could be. But ultimately, the fans and the playoffs will have to decide if this new standard is here to stay.
Or if it's just a statistical anomaly in a long season.
Thanks for listening to the debate.
And that's a wrap on this edition of State of the Beavers. Thanks for spending some time in the lodge with us today. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe on your favorite platform and leave us a review. It really helps the colony grow. Big thanks to our production team and, most importantly, to you for listening. Keep building, keep grinding, and we'll catch you on the next one. Until next time, this has been the State of the Beavers. Stay sharp out there.